You're watching the Spartan Sideline Report with Coach Debra Clark.
Hello, Spartan fans, and welcome to another edition of the Spartan Sideline Report here on NSUSpartans.com. I'm Ross Gordon, the play-by-play voice of the Spartans, joined by Mike Bello, Assistant Sports Information Director, and we'll be joined shortly by the head coach of the women's basketball program, Coach Debra Clark, and sophomore guard Jasmine Gray. Mike, it was another tough weekend for the Spartans as they traveled up to Dover, Delaware State, returned the favor as the Spartans defeated Delaware State at home 61-51, and Delaware State did the same by 10.
Yeah, and Spartans were right there in it, and then obviously in the second half, Bristow for Delaware State kind of took over the game there, scored a whole bunch of their points, in a row, and that kind of, they started to pull away a little bit, not too much, but enough that NSU wasn't able to catch up there at the end. But again, it was kind of one of those games where their defense played well enough for them to win. It just offense kind of struggled there and couldn't get the few points there at the end that they really needed to come back.
Tasia Bristow scored 25 points, and again, her second straight good game against the Spartans. It seems like she just gets going in a certain spot of the ball game, and yesterday against Saturday, it was in the second half where you knew she had it going because she hit a couple threes in a row, and then she banked in a three, then she started to drive to the basket. And when you have those nights, it's just tough sometimes to kind of overcome that.
Yeah, when a player's playing that well, and they're doing different things well. It's not like they're just shooting threes and hitting all their threes. When she's driving to the basket, like you said, hitting threes, hitting jumpers, it's tough to defend a player like that. And they did a good job against everyone else. It's just that one player, and that's kind of, I don't want to say it's been a theme this year, but there's been times this year where there's been a player for the other team that's kind of taken over the game, sort of, and that kind of propels them. Kind of like Olivia Allen did with Hampton the week before.
Tierra Hawkins was their leading scorer again for the second straight game. Coach Clark, she averages 18 points per game, and we did a good job of stopping her. We knew Tasia Bristow was able to score. Probably didn't think she would score like she did in the second half, but some of those shots she hit, they were just difficult shots. Had a hand in her face, shot clock was going down. It was just we just didn't get that miss that we needed.
Well, some a hand in the face, some of them they were not. And we knew going into the game we had to contain those two plays. I thought, again, we did a great job on Hawkins containing her touches. We doubled her when she had the ball. She passed it out. But then in the same respect, we knew Bristow could hurt from the perimeter, and she did again. And I thought a couple of times some shots were contested, but then we just missed some assignments on her. And I felt we did it well for 3/4 of the game. But like I said, the last half of the second half, when she got the momentum and she got on the roll, it was really tough to stop. And combine that with us coming down on offense and missing wide open layups. We have to score. I mean, defense is great and everything, but at the end of the day, we have to put the ball in the basket. And we didn't do that with golden opportunities.
When you have a player like that for Delaware State, a player that you can tell momentum starts shifting, they start getting hot. I mean, what can you do in the middle of a game? I mean, do you change your defense up, or what can you do to really kind of stop a player like that?
Well, it's tough to try to stop that. And what we did change our defense a couple of times within the last 5 minutes of the game. We put Jasmine Gray on her in a little box and one. We did another zone, and we made a concerted effort to limit her touch. We just didn't execute it well. Yeah. And again, when things are going well for her, she threw up one shot. You just, surprised it even went in. But, when momentum gets going like that, it's really tough to stop. And then again, when you're not scoring on the chances you have to score, it really makes it tough for you.
Coach, you look at that ball game, and I guess if you go back and look through the film, and even during the game, you saw so many opportunities where we were at the basket, easy layup opportunities, and we just couldn't finish. And during a pretty of a game, how do you keep your team focused? Because I know that can be disheartening at times, because you look at some of the numbers of our young ladies and what they shot. Right. A lot of those were easy misses.
It's very tough. I mean, we looked at the game, and our posts alone were 8 for 29 on high percentage shots. And we knew going into the game their post defense wasn't that good. So that was the plan of attack, to try to attack them down in the post. We did everything but put the ball in the basket. And as you say, during the game, it is disheartening, but you have to move on to the next play, keep them in coverage, and hopefully the next one will drop. So, we came up a little short, but now we're home for the next 3 games, and we look forward to winning these last 3 games to have some momentum going into the tournament.
You talk about the last 3 games at home. You guys have picked up all your wins this year at home, and weren't able to get a win on the road. I mean, what is it sometimes, I guess, when you're shorthanded and stuff, when you're on the road, I mean, what is it that makes it tougher than obviously playing at home?
You have to be twice as good on the road than you are at home, because that's just the dynamics of being away. You know, you're on their home court, the crowd, you know, the travel, all those dynamics. We know that going into the game, and our pregame talk, and we tell them we're on the road. It's the first thing we say, we've got to be 10 points better. And we just didn't do that for the entire time Saturday night.
Coach, come back home this weekend, Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M, and then the season finale next Thursday. It seems as though these are some of the teams that we feel like we can really take an advantage of, especially at home. Talk a little about the week in preparation for this weekend.
Well, luckily for us, preparation-wise, both Bethune and FAMU are guard heavy. So I feel if we can contain their perimeter players, I don't think they can defend our post plays when they're playing up to their ability and being productive. So we're going to spend a lot of time on, you know, finishing down low, defending on the perimeter, and just playing, you know, solid basketball for 40 minutes. I feel really good about. I watch them on film, I watch us on film, and I think if we play like we're capable, we've got a great chance to be successful.
Coach Clark in her second season here for you. Her name is Jasmine Gray. It was well documented about your play last year and all the things that you did this year to get to where you are. First of all, let's talk about your journey to Norfolk State. What was some of the things that brought you here to Norfolk State?
Well, just when I came to visit, it just felt like a real good family home place to be. Like, it felt like at home. So that's really what brought me here. Like, the people and the coaches, they were really caring. So I just felt like when I came, I just felt like it was right. So.
Describe what it was like, you know, obviously the first year you were a walk-on. Describe what it was like when over the summer coach rewards you with a scholarship. So obviously you didn't have to keep paying your way anymore. I mean, just kind of the emotions you're going through when you found out that you know, were obviously on scholarship now.
Oh, I was real happy. I was excited, but at the same time, I knew I had to work twice as hard than anybody else, because I wanted her to know that I really appreciated it, and that I wasn't taking the opportunity for granted or anything. So it was exciting, but I knew I had to work hard. So
you kind of felt like you had to step up now. You know, when you're a walk-on, obviously you got a chip on your shoulder. Now you feel like, you know, there's still a chip there, but now all of a sudden it's like, okay, I want to justify to them that why you were given a scholarship, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. And I want her to know that I want to be here, and I want her to keep me around. So.
This year, Jasmine, has been an interesting year, ups and downs a little bit. I'm sure your playing time has increased due to some injuries, but talk a little bit about how the season has gone for you and how you feel like you've grown throughout the season.
As far as I just try to play defense, because I know she's really big on defense. So she always says in practice that if you play defense, you'll play. So that's just like what I try to do. I just play hard defense, and hopefully she'll put me in the game. So
you guys have played actually pretty good defense through most of the year. You know, teams aren't scoring a lot against you. I mean, you guys, obviously you're struggling on offense, but do you guys still take a lot of pride in the fact that you, no matter, even if your offense is struggling, you still can stop teams fairly well? Yeah,
we do. That's I mean, in practice, we always try to get after each other on defense. So defense wins ball games, so they say. But I mean, we can still score. Everybody's, even though we lost a big scoring part of our team at the beginning of the season, I think a lot of people are just trying to get in their place and step up where it needs to be.
It seems like over the last couple of games, too, you've done a better job of going towards the basket and trying to make some plays for your teammates. We saw it a little bit in Hampton, but we also saw it a little bit at Delaware State. You driving toward the basket, looking a little bit more for your offense. We don't see that a lot out of you because you are like a pass first point guard. Talk a little about what you've seen over the last couple of games that you've really been able to get to the basket and try to make some plays for your team.
Well, a lot of times sometimes coach puts me in on the wing. I'll be in the game with Rika. So that allows me to see more, I guess, and be able to drive to the basket. I feel like I have to be in at the 2 position rather than the 1.
And obviously, you know, Rika is the main point guard here. She's gone after this year. So what have you kind of, I mean, obviously next year it's point guard is up in the air, who's going to be the starter. You know, there's a lot to figure out still. But has Rika kind of given you some pointers, really kind of helping you that next year you can take on a larger role as a point guard?
Yeah, in practice all the time, we help each other out. She helps me out. She tries to make me stay focused all the time because she naturally is older than me. So she just tells me things that, you know, that any veteran would know over a younger player.
Coach Clark, it's going to be one of those situations this weekend where you're going to need that defensive presence from your guard play, especially from Rika without fouling and Jasmine with being able to stay on the game, along with Ebony, Cachet, and Ava. It's going to be huge that our guards defend well on the perimeter.
Well, very, very important. And that's one thing why Jasmine's minutes have improved. I know that I can call on her to go in and give us a defensive spark. And in the same respect on the offensive end that, I need her in there in the game with Rika, and she's responded well to playing the two guard a little bit for us without a lot of practice. So I'm real happy that she's responding well in that area. But I think our perimeter players, Jasmine, Cash, like you mentioned, Ava, Ebony, are really going to have to be solid on defense this weekend.
Coming into the season, Rika was one of the leaders. Obviously, she'd been here for 4 years. Point guard is obviously the most important position, but people kind of forget that the backup point guard is also one of the most important positions because your point guard can't necessarily play the full 40 minutes, and you never know when someone could get hurt. So just talk about what it's like to have, getting that backup point guard in.
Well, it's very important, and Jasmine has grown and matured significantly as a player this year because there were times when Rika gets 2 fouls in the first half, she has to come out, and then she just has to play. And I thought she was very good in running the offense, keeping her turnovers to a minimum, just being the good floor leader that I expect out of a point guard. So a lot of growth and maturity on her part, and I just see her continue to get better.
Finally, Coach, Bethune-Cookman and FAMU, what are going to be some of the keys offensively for this team? I know we said we're going to get an opportunity to get easy buckets inside, but what are going to be some of the keys offensively for us?
Well, also the fact that they play a lot of matchup zones, a lot of man-to-man, and offensive execution is going to be important. And the fact that we have to do a better job reversing the ball. We have a tendency just to keep the ball on one side of the floor. I think ball reversal, ball movement, and finally finishing the play are going to be key. So we're going to spend some time just making sure we're very, very efficient on offense from the start of the possession until the end.
Norfolk State University women's basketball, not the only thing going on. Now we'll send it to Chandrea Lee for our Spartan Sideline Sports Minute.
Thanks, Ross, and hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Spartan Sideline Sports Minute. I'm Chandrea Lee, and I'm here to bring you all of the news and notes going on around the Norfolk State Athletics Department. The NSU women's tennis team suffered a 6-1 loss to North Carolina Central on Saturday at the Cone Kenfield Tennis Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. They will take to the courts again on Saturday against Bethune-Cookman and then on Monday against Florida A&M at the MEAC Southern Division Roundup in Florence, South Carolina. The bowling team will compete at the Southern Divisional this weekend in Durham, North Carolina, and the Spartans can wrap up the Southern Division title for the 3rd straight year with another solid weekend. The Spartans women's track team placed 7th at the MEAC Indoor Track and Field Championship over the weekend. Junior Champagne Bell won the long jump title for the 3rd consecutive year as she jumped a season best 19 feet and 8.25 inches. NSU will kick off the outdoor season March 14th through 16th at the Shamrock Invitational in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That will do it for this week's edition of the Spartan Sideline Sports Minute. I'm Chandrea Lee. Now back to you, Ross.
Thanks, Chandrea. The Spartans will host Bethune-Cookman this Saturday at Joseph Eccles Hall. Game time is at 4 p.m. It is Military Appreciation Day. Tickets are $5 with valid military ID. Then on Monday evening at 6, the Spartans will host Florida A&M. It's Community Day, and admission is $5 for all Hampton Roads municipal employees. Be sure to keep up with all the news surrounding the NSU Athletics Department by logging on to the web at www.nsuspartans.com. We would like to thank the NSU Department of Video and Media Production, Coach Clark, and Jasmine for their help here today. For Mike Bello, I'm Ross Gordon. Until next week, thank you for watching the Spartan Sideline Report on NSUSpartans.com.